Well, welcome everybody to We Care a Normal Amount About Things. I will be your host this month. I am Awkward Brain Lives. And with me is my co-host, my ride or die, the A1 from day one, Geese Juggler.
Whoop whoop.
Pew 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 pew.
Pew 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 pew.
Pew pew. So
It's like right now in my soul, I just want to do the ad lib from at the end of "Do you remember the time?" Like, and that's not helpful to anybody. But I'm not editing this, so this is fine. This episode of We Care a Normal Amount About Things is brought to you from our sponsors: Little Cat's Living Doll Hospital, Chicken Boo's Costume Emporium, Myth Breeze Emporium of Lost Socks, Krakenstein's Craptorium, You Need Crap, We Got Crap, Transmissions from Smeagol, Dumbfall Industries, and viewers like you. Thank you.
Thank you. So, again, thank you to our patrons. And this month, we are going to be talking about something that is very near and dear to our hearts. This is actually going to be a two-part series. I will be hosting this month. GJ will be hosting next month.
We are?
And are you?
I guess so.
I guess so. I don't know. Can we start all over? Okay. Welcome to We Care a Normal Amount About Things. I will be your host and moderator this month. I am Awkward Brain Lives. And joining us will be my co-host, my ride or die, Keith Juggler.
Hey, everybody.
Pew, pew, pew.
Pew, pew,
pew. Pew, pew, pew. We would like to say a special thank you and shout out some of our favorite companies who make this possible. Keith Juggler, take it away.
We would like to say a thank you to our sponsors and patrons: Chicken Boo's Costume Emporium, Little Cat's Living Doll Hospital, Transmissions from Smeagol, Myth Breeze Emporium of Lost Socks, Dumbfall Industries, Krakenstein's Craptorium, You Need Crap, We Got Crap, and viewers like you. Thank you.
That was very good, Keith Juggler.
Thank you.
Very PBS-like.
That's what I was going for.
So this month's topic we will be covering will be actually a two-parter. We will be recording a really long episode and then cut it in half because editing is hard.
It is.
Especially when you're neurodivergent. What we're talking about. First of all, what we're talking about is Percy Jackson, the series, Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Starting off with the first book, the thing that started it all, ladies and gentlemen, The Lightning Thief. We will, and this is when we'll do it, we will be giving spoilers. So this is your spoiler alert song.
Spoiler zone.
Now, this will not only be spoilers for book 1, maybe book 2, maybe more, but also...
Definitely, we're going to try our best to keep it to the first 3 books of the 5-book series, because everything else is such a deep cut and such a... we want you to, if you haven't read these books yourselves and haven't gone on that journey yourself, we really want you to, so if we spoil anything past the first book, it's only going to be for the Lightning Thief, Sea of Monsters, and then book 3, which is Battle of the Labyrinth, or Titan's Curse. Titan's Curse is 3.
Titan's Curse is 3, and then 4 is Battle of the Labyrinth.
Yeah, so definitely the first 3 books.
And so that may bleed into what may happen in the second season. We haven't started it yet. We're not sure. We also may be spoiling a hypothetical movie. Like, I heard there was a movie, like 2 movies based on Percy Jackson, but I don't know, because if I had saw them, I probably would have burnt that information out of my brain.
I know Rick Riordan did.
Now, also, if you want to do an in-depth comparison of the movie, the books, to the hypothetical movies, to the TV show, I would highly recommend Dominic Noble on YouTube. He does an amazing analysis of this. His analysis of the hypothetical movies versus the books are hilarious. Top tier.
I
What's
still
wrong?
maintain that the script for the movies are terrible, but had the cast been age appropriate, I would have absolutely loved to see the three of them as our Percy, Grover, and Annabeth.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. There is Brandon T. Jackson is the only, and I mean that in the nicest
Respectfully.
way, respectfully. Logan Lerman and whoever their girl is, and all the other actors, y'all got a jerk script with, I don't know how Christopher Columbus was directing them. Did he direct them to be this wooden? But the only thing that made me happy about that movie was Brandon T. Jackson. So when I saw the movie and said, "Oh, I should read the book," when I read the book, I looked at the movie and went, "What is this? What are those? What are those?"
He still would have been a good Grover.
He was.
He could have been even like with book accurate Grover, he could have done a good performance as book accurate Grover. Unfortunately, the script that they all got was not book accurate at all. It's like 20%.
And we're going to
If
get
you
into
hear
it.
any noise in the background, our neighbor outside is blaring music, so we apologize for that.
I've read the books. I've read all 10 books. I actually have to go read some more books because I realized Percy is and some other books, and I was like, "What about that?" So I got to
Mm-hmm.
go get those. Go get those. So, and I know Jessica, you've read all 10 books, correct?
Correct.
Okay. The TV show.
Ooh, also while we are talking about this, before we go into the territory of TV shows, I'm just gonna do like some quick trigger warnings right quick for everything. Hey, this is what I do now, especially with being a book reviewer. I gotta let them know. Okay, so other than spoilers, we're going to be talking about racism, parental abandonment, generational trauma, abuse, death,
Child death.
child death, sexual assault, sexism, and I have in my notes bad science.
Comma?
I don't
Question
know
mark?
why bad science is in my notes. It's just is.
It's there.
And I felt like bad science warranted enough of a trigger warning that I put it after sexism. Oh my god. This is a kid's book. This is a middle grade book.
So first of all, books, amazing. Love them. Love them so much that when they announced the TV show and they said Rick Riordan's going to be in charge, I was like, yay.
Yeah.
I think I think three types of people went into this movie. The first group
Wait, we're
of
talking about the
people,
movie or we're talking about the show?
the show, I'm sorry. The first group of people who they were talking about with this show, the first group were book purists. It has to be word for word, book by book, chapter by chapter. I swear to God, if they go off anywhere, I'm gonna burn down Disney. Second group of people were had never read the book. I never read the book before. It's gonna be on Disney. This is gonna be a cute little thing. I'm gonna enjoy it. Then there was me, the group of people that I think I was in, which was it has to be better than the movie.
Yeah.
Has to be somewhat accurate.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here for the vibes, baby.
Yeah.
And I hate to say this, once they casted a black Annabeth, I'm just here for the vibes, baby. And Uncle Rick, I trust. I went through a lot of trauma with him. I think Uncle Rick's gonna do me right.
I know personally my need for books and movies, my need for books and their adaptations to be perfect one for one accuracy has diminished over the years. Especially when I think of how many movies that I love and they are not perfect adaptations at all of the book.
That. MCU killed all that.
No, like first of all, with since we're talking about Dominic Noble, then his series lost an adaptation, and in which he goes through books and their adaptations either in movies or in TV shows. There he makes a note of just how many things that we as readers fill in our own head because of the fact that the book only gives us so much information, and or how the book is entirely in one person's POV, and how in a TV show we don't have that same luxury. Yeah, you can do like certain shots and certain scenes from a particular person's perspective. That was a lot of peace. But you can't shoot the entire movie like that. You can't shoot the entire movie as like literally Percy's POV. Like you can't do that. But also, like, even if the TV show was like this perfect one for one adaptation, it actually wouldn't have been, because we all have it in our own head, in our own biases. So even if Rick Riordan could have literally, like, we put a machine on his head and he shows us all, like, what he saw in the book and how he saw these characters, we still would have been fighting him about, like, no, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. I don't care that you did write these books. You were wrong about this particular thing.
This is not how you pronounce Talia's name. Her name is Talia.
Right. Right, because, like, the thing where he dropped how to pronounce Luke's last name a couple of days ago, and I was like, a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, nope, you putting in extra letters. What is this?
Ever this.
What are you? Just because you wrote this book doesn't mean you know anything, sir. And so over the years of seeing how certain movies, and like you said, like the MCU, have changed the interpretation on certain, comic book arcs or certain characters and things like that. Like, yeah, my need for it to be perfect has softened, especially when in the source material, I didn't like certain things and then they changed it. And so for me to be like, it always has to be XYZ, except for the 3 times I liked it when they changed it, like that's a little bit of a hypocrite.
For example, the age gap between Luke and Annabeth. Somebody reminded me of that before the show started, and I was like, what do you... Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You just kind of stare off into space, and you're just like...
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I enjoyed the TV show. I know just Geese Juggler did. I was right next to her. On 2 different laptops at 2 different times, just looking at each other like, have you gotten to this yet?
Yeah.
And so we enjoyed it. We're coming from an aspect of people who enjoyed it. If you didn't enjoy it, I'm sorry for you. Effective for you, that makes you want to go back and watch it and go, oh, okay. One of the things that is an overreaching arc of Percy Jackson. Percy has it, Annabeth has it, Luke, Talia, all Greek gods have, because of the power that they have in them and being forced to live in a mortal world, they are all perceived as having ADHD.
Yeah.
And that is an important part of the book. Rick Riordan wrote the book for his son, who has ADHD, and all demigods have that. And the way ADHD is perceived in the book and in the movie, as well as on the show, it's shown as ADHD as a superpower. And as a gifted kid, ADHD burnout, I love the fact that was in there. Even when I read it 24. I was an adult when I started reading these books. But as someone who suffers with ADHD and has been told their entire life, you're so smart, you're so smart, you're so smart, and so you work twice as hard to make sure that people still know that you're smart, you tend to try to power through. And that's where the burnout comes from. So people are like, oh my God, you can read so many books, and oh my God, you can learn how to do this so quickly. And it's such a superpower. And to hear that is kind of disingenuous, but to see it that way, as the fidgeting is because you're not using the energy that you have towards your productive use. I am going to say this. I am going to get into the second set of books real quick. At Camp Jupiter, the Roman camp, they...
Hold on, wait. There's a brief spoiler into the second book.
Into the second set of books.
We meet another half-blood.
Right, and he is trained as a Roman soldier. And baby, the difference between, hey guys, it's Monday, we're going to do capture the flag, don't kill each other. And the Romans saying, hey, we're going to do capture the flag. And here is the set of rules and parameters and the map and everything that goes with that. The different parenting kind of perspective of, hey, you know what? She has ADHD. They may have autism. Let's just let them find their way. As well, but then you got other people saying, oh, they're neurodivergent, they need structure. all the
Mm-hmm.
time. And so Rick Riordan's his you can tell that Rick Riordan is a parent of a neurodivergent child, and that he is an English teacher, which makes so much sense because he has had these kids in his class,
Mm-hmm.
and he has, you can tell that he has learned that every child needs different things. Every child who has a neurodivergency, they are all not presented in the same way. So,
Something going in what you're talking about. He also presents it as these are not bad kids, just
right,
kids who have been put in bad circumstances with well, kids who have been put in difficult circumstances, and this is how they have come out of it. In the first season slash first book, we meet Clarice, who is the daughter of Ares, and she's a bully, she's hyper aggressive, and all that, right? And we just immediately don't just beef with her because she got beef with Percy, we beefing with her.
right,
And as we continue on in the series, you learn more about Clarice and her background, and you feel, or at least I did, feel very sympathetic towards her. Like
hmm
to the point where the first two episodes dropped, and I was on Twitter, and I saw people talking crap about Clarice, and I was like, "You will not! You don't know her.
you don't know my life."
You don't know her. You don't know her life. You Why are you talking about this fictional girl?" And like, but
Right,
that's how I know. That's how I met Clarice, and that's how I when I met Clarice, that's how I felt about her. And there are other characters in the books where you meet this person, you initially do not like this person, or even like you initially meet this person and they make bad choices and they make bad calls, and then you find out their backstory, and you understand them from a deeper perspective of like, okay, this makes sense as to why this person did it. I don't like that they did it,
right,
but it makes sense. And knowing that he is a first of all just like an English teacher, but just a teacher in general, I'm haven't worked in childcare or in education, but from what I've heard, there's so many examples of teachers who like having to do like their students' hair, or having to make sure that this student like eats or bathes themselves because of the effect of, their home life. Yeah, you could just do it as a surface level, just like this child is being disruptive because of XYZ, or you could actually like do the work
right,
as from not from like a teacher perspective, from but as a human to human experience, and realize why this child keeps jumping, why does this child never pay attention in class, why is this child's homework always messy, and you can find out from a deeper level why they are the way that they are. And so knowing all of that from his perspective, from knowing all that from Riordan's experience, it really shows in his writing, because there's only maybe two people, like it's the overarching villain and like a couple of other of the gods who we have long standing beefs with, because everybody else, yes, what they did sucks, but when you know what they came from, this destructive pattern makes sense.
all right. So we're talking a lot about characters and their motivations and stuff, but I don't think we've for those who have never read Percy Jackson, we're gonna do a quick synopsis for you, like super quick.
Okay.
Not like episode one when I said I was gonna do a quick synopsis and it lasted 45 minutes. So real quick, for those who don't know, Juggler, do you want to do the synopsis or you want me to do it real quick?
I can do it.
Go for it.
Okay, so young Percy Jackson has always known that he is different. And not just because of the fact that he's from a single parent household, or because he has both ADHD and dyslexia, but from his younger years, he's always seen things differently, or seen things that don't make sense in the reality that he knows it. Um, One day while he is at school, he gets attacked by one of his teachers. She asks to meet him somewhere, and she just turns into this really weird, like, feather lady. And his teacher gives him a pen, and the pen somehow turns into a sword, and then she turns into ash, and all that. And after that experience, he keeps asking people where this teacher is, and no one knows Mrs. Dodds. No one seems to know who on earth Mrs. Dodds is. And so it's at the end of the school year, I think. And Percy gets kicked out of school. He goes home, and his mom talks to him about it, and they go on vacation, or go to like a vacation house that they use. And she tries to, in the way I'm about to make it sound like they have the talk. But she tries to tell Percy about his background and his father's side of the family. He knows a little bit about her side of the family. He does not know extensively about his father's side of the family. He just knows that his dad is a powerful man who has to be out of town, and that he does care about Percy, but things have shaken out where he's not involved. Turns out Percy's father is not just a regular degular powerful man. He is a Greek god. As the Greek Empire collapsed, the Greek gods themselves, who are real and still exist in our modern world, has shifted from whatever is the great big civilization until that collapses and then moves on to the next one. So after Greece collapsed, they spent time in Rome, and now they're in America. They're actually, Olympus is now in New York. It's in the Empire State Building. And so she takes Percy along with his best friend from school, who was actually his guardian. They take him to a camp for other kids like him, the other half-bloods, who are children of the numerous Greek gods, because they still tripping. And she takes him there so that he can learn more about his heritage, but so that he can learn more about his heritage as well as prepare himself for the things that lay ahead for him. Because for every Greek hero, for every hero, there has to be a monster that has to rise up and try to murder him, or her. And so she sends him to this camp for him to train and learn. The only thing is, on the way to the camp, their car gets attacked, and Percy thinks his mom dies. And she dies before telling Percy who his father is. And so for the first couple of chapters, for a good chunk of the book, we don't know who Percy's dad is. We just know that his dad is a man, very probably, because once again, the Greek gods would be tripping, so we're not entirely sure of that. We just know that he's there. He should be there. We just don't know who his godparent is. And as the book progresses, we realize that he's the son of Poseidon, which is great because Poseidon and Zeus are kind of beefing right now because someone stole Zeus's lightning bolt. He thinks it's Poseidon. Poseidon says, nah, it's not me, but siblings gonna siblings. So now we about to start an entire war about this. And well known and well documented that the Greek gods will have their half children do things for them because there are rules established, and the half-bloods can, get past those rules. So they think that Percy stole the lightning bolt. Percy, along with two other kids, have to find the bolt, return it to Zeus, and do all that before the summer solstice, which is like a week. Yep. And try to make sure that they don't start another war, because the last war that happened between the Greek gods was World War II, and that was not fun for a lot of people for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah, so that's basically it. That's what eventually happens, and what we're going through is the Percy Jackson and his friends and their adventures trying to find
to save the world.
Trying to save the world, which, you should totally put that on a 12-year-old. There's nothing can go wrong.
Oh, yeah, because Percy's 13 years old. I forgot to mention that.
No, he's 12. They are 12.
They're 12.
They're not, they're preteens. They're not even teenagers yet.
Oh my gosh.
So, so now let me go to my notes here. So we are with, when they get to the differences between the kids when they get to Camp Half, things that is, and Percy's father Poseidon says it, the sea doesn't like to be contained. So because of this, Percy is written and perceived as being, first of all, they literally call him impertinent. And he's like, yeah, that's me. He tends to be a lot more, let's go. Let's go. Let's do this. We going in head first, gun blazing. We'll figure out a plan as we go.
We'll burn that bridge when we get to it.
Well, hey, I'm the son of Poseidon. If we burn down a bridge, I can literally put the fire out. It's good.
I have
It's
water
good.
powers. It's fine.
His best friend is Annabeth Chase. We love her.
Gosh.
And in 2 to 3 iterations, I absolutely love her. She is daughter of Athena, wise girl. She's a avid reader. She retains all information. Her goal in life is to be an architect. That's what she wants to do.
And not only is she, smart because of her mother, she's also smart because of her father. Her father is a professor at West Point. And so the history and the strategy that doesn't just come from one parent, that comes from both.
Is in the book she is described as having blonde hair and blue eyes. And that is because, and Rick Riordan said it himself, he did that because he wanted Annabeth to be perceived as, the Western type of beauty, so that people will underestimate her and her intelligence. So that when he casted Leah Savage as Annabeth and people got all up in arms about it,
Ugh,
very, they were very upset. They clutched
very.
all their pearl. Rick Riordan told them, "Look, who in America is more underestimated in this world than a black woman?"
And he also made it a point to tell everybody, listen, I casted everybody. First of all, he told everybody, listen, when I wrote these books, I was a much younger writer. I had a lot of biases and a lot of prejudices that I was not even aware of that I put in my books. People have called me out on it, and the more that I have grown as a writer and the more that I have met the people, the fans, I have realized how narrow my view of these characters and how these characters' looks are. And this was my opportunity to change that.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Because I also read it, and there's a lot of kind of fat jokes in there, and it's not so much that you get turned off to the book because Percy is 12 and 12-year-olds kind of suck as a person, but they do. I was once a 12-year-old. I know how it was. You can tell that he was a much younger writer, and how you can also see how he has tried to correct that in his books since then. The first 5 books of the first Percy Jackson and the Olympian series, that 90% of the cast is white or white presenting, and then we get to the second book series of the Heroes of Olympus, and we have an indigenous girl, we have a Latino boy, we have a Chinese kid, we have a black, and even more, he continues to push himself. As he continues on that path of pushing himself, he realizes that he can't just do that by himself, and so he has brought on other writers. For one of his books, for a side character, that side character is queer, and so he brought on a queer co-writer because Rick Riordan has realized, hey, I am a straight white dude. I could write this, but I could write it credit and the respect and the service that they deserve by bringing on someone with that lived experience. And so with Annabeth, he was like, this is my chance to fix this. Let's go. And so he basically did a blind cast of just I'm just looking for a 12-ish year old girl who inhabits, who can, play Annabeth. And out of the literal thousands, Leah Savage Jeffries was Annabeth. And I find it very interesting that everybody wants to talk about how Annabeth is black now and how that's a discredit to everything. Meanwhile, Grover is played by, I think Orion is Indian. But he's a person of color now, and Grover was not a person of color in the book.
Yeah, because everybody's like, she's supposed to have blonde hair and blue eyes. Yeah, Walker Scobell doesn't have black hair and green eyes. Just want to point that out to people who want to do that. And if you watch that show and Annabeth Chase is not your Annabeth, Leah Savage is not your Annabeth, I need you to look at some internal biases that you may have in your life, my good dude.
Orion is Indian. I think I got that right. I looked it up.
Yay. I do want to say this. Rick Riordan, after he hired Leah, he had a sensitivity coach come in and read all the scripts and anything, and you can tell he had somebody of color on there because there is a scene, Annabeth goes to sleep and she has on a scarf over her braids. And I was like, yes, we love to see it. We love to see it.
And just a brief thing about her
Mhm.
hair, and I don't know if other like black people watching like science fiction, sci-fi think about this, but I know personally, like whenever I watch a movie and there's like, this secret group of people and there's a black person there, I'm like, so what's her hair situation? Because like
Right.
I remember watching Black Widow, the Black Widow movie, and like
Yeah.
she breaks into the compound where the other widows are, and like there's a beautiful diverse group of assassins, and
Yeah.
and like some of them have their hair in like afros and some have their hair in like braids and all that, and I'm like, so what's the hair care situation like? Is there someone there who knows how to do their hair? Like, because you kind of like have them brainwashed. Do they know how to do their hair? Do you have a designated person who like goes out and like does like the beauty supply runs to make sure that they have like the very specific, like who's doing the Cantu runs and
Right.
who's
Right.
like making sure that like, oh well, her braids have to be taken down, we gotta buy more braiding hair, we gotta buy like the hot oil treatments and all this, or do they go to a beautician? And I know like how dumb that sounds to be thinking about that during this movie, but like you've put this in front of me and I know what it takes to take care of my hair, and so I need to know, like, because you have this compound like in like this small town in the middle of nowhere in like Russia or something. What's the black population there in Russia? Like, do they have to have like a special shipment to like a third party that sends it to another party so that these group of women can have their hair care products? I need to know. And so
Question I've ever heard about a lot.
I think about this so many times. Like literally every
I know.
time they
I know.
have that, I think about that. And they showed the pictures of Leah as Annabeth, and she has box braids, right?
Yeah.
And I remember seeing a video. You sent me a video on TikTok of other black fans talking about like, oh, okay, so who's doing her hair? Do you think it's someone from the Aphrodite tent, or is it someone from the Aphrodite tent? Because of course, like the Aphrodite girls know all about hair care and all of this, but she is the daughter of Athena, and Athena is the creator
A
of
weaver.
weaving, right?
Yes.
So she would know like all like the really cool hair, like she knows how to braid and all this, and so like is it like the Aphrodite girls stealing the hair care? Wait, no, we can get the Hermes girls to steal the hair care because they got money. Hermes is, the god of thieves, so like they could steal this, and it was so much fun to like be in the space that encouraged those questions,
Right.
as well as having really fun answers to
Yeah,
it.
because they came up with some really great answers, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I never thought about that before." I think it also lends an air of more of a community when you think about the fact that, because most of the time when you read the original book, I know when I read the original book, it was, these kids hang out with these kids, and these kids hang out with these kids, and these kids hang out with these kids, and the only
Mm-hmm.
reason why, like, the Hermes cabin is for people who have not been claimed and people who have been claimed by Hermes. So they get to interact with each other. But the thing is, like, once you're claimed, do you stop hanging out with your friends at the Hermes camp? What is that like? So having that conversation about her hair really did give a layer of kinship with each other about, hey, this girl did this thing, and if this person does that thing, then we can do it together.
Yeah.
One of the other things that stood out to me was they don't really talk about it in the book, but they talk about her intelligence. They don't talk about her power. They talk more
Mm-hmm.
about
Her
Percy has the power.
intelligence is her power, and that's all she has.
That is not necessarily true. At 7 years old, this girl was fighting for herself. Which, if that is not a metaphor for black women in America, I don't
Ooh.
know what is. Because it is a proven fact that black girls are not seen, they are seen as women younger than white girls are.
Yep.
Doing this whole soft girl revolution thing now, which I feel like it should be, because black women are taught their entire life to be strong and to power through, and to see Annabeth as a black girl doing this, and it's in the book too. It's not, I don't think it's a biggest thing because of the fact that Annabeth is white, but to see it on screen as this black girl having to take care of Percy and his feelings and the emotions he's going through, because oh my God, he just found out that he's a half blood, and we're on a mission.
Annabeth definitely lends herself, like when you look at not necessarily in how she's written, because there's a couple of tweaks in the books in that doesn't make her like perfectly match up with the Annabeth in the show. But when you write down like on paper Annabeth and her deal, it definitely lends herself to being a young black woman, because the fact that Percy is like, I don't know if I'm a half, I just found out that I'm a half blood, last week, and I don't know what I'm doing, and this is this, and I don't, you can't put me in this box, and
I'm
I
free.
just I just showed up here, and I just got my first mission. Huzzah! Meanwhile, Annabeth has been waiting for her chance to go on a quest since she got there at 7. And
Right,
Annabeth has been on her own at 7 since she was
right,
7 years old. And Annabeth, despite only being 12 years old, Annabeth is already like the counselor of her tent. And she's teaching Percy like certain things around, like takes him like on the tour. She's already the lead strategist for Capture the Flag. Her and Percy have lived. I'm not making it seem as if Percy has had like this charmed life, because he hasn't. Annabeth has already, by 12 years old, Annabeth has already put herself in a lead position, in a position in which she is leading other people so regularly that when Percy wakes up the next day at camp, she's sitting in Chiron's office while he's in there with Mr. D and Grover.
right.
There's no reason why she is in there. Like, run along. Don't you have siblings? You're 12 years old. Like, why are you doing? But she has already basically like adultified herself, that no one really stops and be like, it's Percy who has to tell her, like, you are a child. This is not normal.
Right,
And
right.
she pushes back so much against like him, and just like, why are you so reluctant to be a half-blood? Why are you so reluctant to accept that this is your life now? It's
Right,
fine.
right. It's fine. And I'm not saying, her being black. It's not a race thing. It's just one of those things that overtly changes the character ever so much.
Yes.
It changes her being black, changes I know for me as a black woman, I think that's like one of those things where representation matters, because now seeing it from my perspective, knowing what I know about black women in America, knowing what I know for myself, coming from a generation of strong women, it is perceived to me, I have always perceived it as, they are strong, they were strong, I have to be strong. Which is the trigger warning about generational trauma. So Annabeth in the book may have had a chip on her shoulder about the way she looks and how people put her down because of the way she looks, and may have put her down because she is one of the youngest people in camp, and she's had to prove herself. I'm not saying that Annabeth in the book has not had to prove herself and that she didn't prove herself, because book Annabeth, no matter what anybody says about it, and I can say all I want to about Leah and being a black woman and representation matters. That's great. But book Annabeth, the way Annabeth is written, Annabeth is that girl.
She is.
She is that girl. With her hat and her dagger and her brain, she could have taken over the world. Annabeth Chase, in all instances, in most cases, is that girl. She is that girl. But to see this young black girl who has been taught her entire life by the society she was raised in, and by that I mean camp half-blood, have to train herself to be strong.
I didn't see it that way.
It blew, and I'm just saying, and I'm saying that that's from my perspective, from my experiences, to see her have to prove herself and to push through any way she may have felt about her father and her stepmother and her mother. She did not have time for that, because Annabeth she felt like she had to prove herself. Baby, you went from California to New York at 7 years old being chased by monsters. I think you've proven yourself. I think you've done the thing. So
I personally... Okay, go.
that's why it was important for me. That's not why it was important, but that's why when he casted a young black woman, I was a black girl. She's 12. She is not a black woman. To see him cast a young black girl
Mm-hmm.
as Annabeth was amazing. That's what I loved about it. That's why I was like, what? So yeah.
For me, the lens of Annabeth being black now and how that shifted my perspective of her in the book. For years, for decades, the measuring stick of does this person have ADHD or does this person have autism, the measuring stick has always been an able-bodied white guy. An able-bodied white boy. And so because of that, there are a lot of these people who are just now getting diagnosed with ADHD and autism because only recently the scope has been widened out to encompass like the full spectrum. Because fun fact, the first person who has been ever got diagnosed with autism died last year.
What?
Autism he was like 80.
Wow.
That's how young it is. And so because of that, we're not only getting like just white women being diagnosed with ADHD and autism, we're now starting to spread that too in the marginalized communities in which like
because it is so hard. It is so hard not only for women to get diagnosed, but kids who are in a D1 school, which are the schools that need the most help, they don't have time to be a psychologist and be a therapist and diagnose your kids. I'm just trying to get them to learn how to read. Like,
because of the fact that because not only do we not have the resources, not only does the school not have the resources, the parents often don't have the resources, and then our own parents are dealing with their own generational trauma, and so they don't know. Like, there's a reason why the joke from SNL of "my boy doesn't have depression, he just likes to sit in the dark" hits as hard as it does.
My boy don't have the ADHD. He just likes to do all the art.
Right. He just likes to jump a lot.
Right.
And because of the fact of like, that's how our parents and our uncles and our grandparents were. Autism is this, everybody's getting diagnosed with autism. Why is, it just seems to be popping up out of nowhere. This must be the new fad. Meanwhile, you have your generation normalized having an entire set of dishware that no one is allowed to use unless it's a special occasion.
In my generation, we didn't have ADHD and the autism. Nah, you just had an 80% alcoholic rate. Like,
right. Or just like my dad is obsessed with because I keep thinking of like the toy train collectors, or like oh, my dad collects stamps. My dad collects moths and butterflies and all of this, and he just went to this convention for this. Or, these, because I just found out recently, like, there's a convention for vacuum cleaners enthusiasts.
Are you kidding?
I kid you not. Like, they talking about, like, the new school stuff. They're bringing out the OG vacuum cleaners from, like, the 1800s. They're bringing out stuff from the 50s and all of this. But autism just got started recently. Right? Like, oh.
No, I don't know where your autism comes from. Hey, Dad. Yeah. Tell me about your car. Well, it's a 1967 Chevette, and when I bought it, it didn't have all these original parts. But I went on you know how you taught me how to go on the internet? Yeah, I went on the internet, and I traded with this dude, and now my car has all the original parts.
There's this guy who his uncle just recently, I think it's his uncle or his grandfather, but like they're moving his house. He has like 5 rooms in this house full of Star Trek stuff from like decades, just full to the brim of Star Trek memorabilia, from like dolls to like figures and models and standees and posters and all of this. But autism is recent.
Yeah, it's brand new.
It's brand new.
Never had it before. Never have it.
Right. Or just like all these uncles and aunties that we had where they just weren't quite right. Or, they soft in the head, or they got the rip put on them or something. Or how like, oh yeah, this person was a really sweet person and they were great and everything, but they went through this really traumatic experience and they were just never the same again. But PTSD is new.
Or even, for example, my dad, I came home from therapy one day and my dad was like, so what do you go to therapy for? And I was like, well, mostly because of my bipolar disorder. And this is after the man got diagnosed himself as manic depressive. And my therapist was like, yeah, that's the same thing. He was like, where'd you think you got that from? Well, they say it's genetic, Dad. Really? Yeah. And I just kept looking at him to see if he was going to put 2 and 2 together. And I was like, okay.
I once stole so much that I spent one summer stealing so much stuff that I eventually burnt out and lost a taste for it, and I have never stolen again. But ADHD and hyperfixations are new.
The serotonin that I used to get from stealing, the little buzz I got in the back of my head,
I just burnt out for it. It didn't happen anymore.
So I don't know where you got ADHD from.
Right. Like, what? You have ADHD? You have autism? I wonder where you guys got that from. Meanwhile, my mom and 2 of my uncles are arguing about whether or not Superman and the Flash, or, who's faster, Superman or the Flash. And they are literally bringing up the exact comic book run in which that question was answered, but ADHD and autism is new. And so
it's new.
So
it's new.
I can see for bringing it back to Annabeth, I can see how she is this abrasive because of the fact that she grew up in, the normal world, and she is a young Black girl, and how, no, she doesn't have autism, she just has an attitude. She doesn't have ADHD, she just needs to focus. She doesn't have these 2 actual disabilities, she just needs to buckle up and stop fighting with her teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Especially as, once again, a Black girl, when Black people are already characterized so much as being aggressive, abrasive people, right? And as someone, once again, who was a Black girl with undiagnosed autism, there's been so much stuff that I have said and done that people have just kind of like given me the side eye for. I've been told before, yeah, what you're saying is right, but I don't like your tone. Or you could have worded that in a nicer way.
No, I couldn't.
Just because it's right doesn't mean that you have to say it. And so for Annabeth to go from that to even probably having experienced that in her own house with her stepmom and her half siblings, and then once again being on the run where she has to keep her guard up, she has to protect herself, she has to harden herself, and then she gets to Camp Half-Blood, where not only is she finally taken seriously,
yes,
she has answers. No, you're not abrasive. That's just you being combat ready.
But
no, you're not argumentative. You're just a strategist.
Yeah. And we can go back to this. This is something else that I wanted to circle back to. This is going to take 6 hours.
I'm on how depressing it is, bro.
Why? Are the child soldiers not making you happy? Okay.
I literally have it in my note. Of just in between, like, the gods equal the U.S. recruiting high school kids. Sacrifice yourself for glory. And then, like, right below it is, good God, this franchise bums me out.
I'm about to start rereading it again.
Absolutely. Let's go with it. And I'll do it again.
No regret. So, this is something else that speaks to that. Is Percy got to live in a world full of stories and dreamlands, and his mother buying him blue food, and we got Annabeth, book Annabeth, and show Annabeth, who were told their entire lives, this is fact.
Mm-hmm.
This is fact, because her mother dreamed Annabeth out of her head and went, here's a kid, dude, and a dude who does not know how to raise kids. And so, like, here's a book.
Oh, God.
Your mom's Athena, here's a book. Annabeth, her entire life, has known this is a fact. This is a fact. That is why she is so direct. And in the real world, book Annabeth and Leah, and I'm going to call her Leah so we know for sure who is who. But Aunt Leah Annabeth and book Annabeth, in the real world, they probably both have been told that they are too smart for their own good. And this is not how a lady acts. And this is not what you do. Left, right, sit down, put your hands in your pockets, and don't say anything, which is why it's so hard for women to get diagnosed with ADHD, because we've been told our entire lives what is socially acceptable.
Yeah.
So we were not allowed to fidget and jump and go from here to there to here to here, from here to there.
Oh, she doesn't like this particular food. How dainty.
You can't run with the boys because you're a girl, sit down. And so girls...
And how, like, for girls who are diagnosed with ADHD, it's only because of the fact that they, once again, the measuring stick is a white dude, able-bodied white dude, and she's really hyperactive, and she jumps around constantly, and she jumps from subject to subject. Well, she acts like the other ADHD boys. Okay, she gets a pass. Well, what about this girl over here who is quieter, but I can't seem to get her to focus, and she seems to just always be in like her own little head, and
put that book down and go talk to people.
she doesn't have ADHD. She's just stuck up.
Yep.
Or she's just stuck up. Or she's just, a dreamer. Or a flibbertigibbet, a will-o'-the-wisp, a clown.
Oh my God. Because, like, as an adult, you finally realize a lot of people failed, Maria. Like, never mind. So, yes, Annabeth seems, because of the fact that she knows this is fact, she seems like she's aggressive and mean, and she is there along, the whole year. And in my notes, I have it in purple letters, so I don't forget it. It's the "you drool when you sleep" line. Annabeth has been watching this kid because they told me one day I will go on an adventure with a new person, and this may be it. And he wakes up, after his mom dies, and the first thing this little girl looks at him and says is, "You drool in your sleep." Interesting.
And I love that line and its many different deliveries, because in the book, she says it kind of like as an afterthought.
Yeah.
Like, she's in Chiron's office and she has to go and get someone. And she sees Percy and she runs up to him. Like, she runs past him to get to the door, looks at him and tells him, "You drool when you sleep," and then runs out.
Right.
And versus in the TV show where, it's a storm and Percy wakes up, tosses and turns, and in the middle of the night he opens his eyes and he sees her looming over him, and she says, "You drool in your sleep." And I love how somehow both of these come off as like a tactical thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if this was book Annabeth saying that as like a tactical maneuver, or like, me and him are going to go into battle. Like, I need to remember that he drools in his sleep. And I don't know if he knows if he drools in his sleep. Or if she's saying this as like I don't know how to talk to normal kids my age. Mm-hmm. What is small talk? I guess it's this little factoid that I know. You drool in your sleep. I know things about you now. We're now friends, right?
For example, the candy scene.
Oh my God. Why would you bring that up?
Which caused a 45-minute to an hour discussion about why she froze when she saw the candy. And I gotta tell you, as someone who has read the books and has saw the show, that was the first time it popped in my head that Annabeth Chase had ADHD, because when people ask why did she freeze when it came to the candy, my first thought was, it's so many options, it froze her executive disorder function.
Okay, so for those who are unaware, your executive function is the thing that helps you go to like point A to point B. It's it's your starter, it's your inertia. And for neurodivergent people, we sometimes struggle with having way too many options thrown at us, or just being so burnt out on making decisions that you basically throw one more decision in our face and the decision just kind of like bounces off of our face and we collapse.
It's
right?
also called decision paralysis.
Right. And that's something that's often like discussed right now with parents, and how, oh, just make me a list, or oh, just tell me what to do. And the one parent is just so burnt out on making decisions all the time that you just can't make another one. Like, apparently it's the same thing happens with the president, and someone has to pick out his clothes every day so that he has one less choice that he has to make, right?
Right.
And so for a lot of us, oh, I'm at work and I'm jumping on top of it, and I could do this and I could do that, and I'm juggling 12 things at work all the time. What do you want for lunch? I will take that family-sized bag of Doritos, please.
Right.
Why? Because if I make another choice, I will collapse. I will have a mental breakdown right now about if you make me make another choice.
Right.
Because I ain't got it.
I don't have it in me. I want to say
it's never like it's never the big choices. It's just like the smaller ones of like, where are my socks? Or what movie do I want to watch? I'm not digging through Netflix. I'm just going to watch the same thing I always watch. I
Hello?
don't have the spoon. I don't have the spoons to watch a new thing and try to keep up with a new thing and new emotions. Bring on Haikyuu
How did you know that's what I was about to say?
or bring on Parks and Rec. I'm watching the same one episode of Parks and Rec, please, because I know where all the layers and all the jokes are, and I don't want to make new decisions.
Right. So yeah. And then you brought up like she's been in camp her entire life. She doesn't know what candies there are in the world. What do you mean? There's 18
Okay.
different types of
Okay, so I'm gonna go down the list of why this scene hits for me, right? So you brought up the first one of like the last time she was out of camp. She was 7 years old. They weren't letting a 7-year-old pick the snacks. 7-year-olds are highly irresponsible with snack choosing, right? Then two, we have the thing of like there's so many new options. Then C, we have folks be changing recipes. So yeah, this was my safe food when I was 7 years old, but I don't know if this tastes the same, right? Then we have the texture issues because sometimes you get a crunchy snack and then you eat the crunchy snack and you realize, no, that's not the mouthfeel I wanted. I wanted the chewy snack, but too late, we've already left, so now I'm stuck with the crunchy snack. When I wanted the chewy snack, I'll just sit here and die. And then
Oh, okay.
and then and last
Another
but
layer.
not
Are you ready? Are you ready for
yeah.
another layer?
Uh-huh.
So when Grover was Annabeth's her guardian, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the first time Percy says, "Hey, I want you to go with me," the first words out of Grover's mouth is, "I'm gonna pack the best snack."
Mm-hmm.
So it could have been the last trip she went on. Grover chose all the vegan snacks.
Right. And then that's another thing. I have to pack snacks for Grover, and Grover is vegan. And
Right.
gelatin is still made out of animal byproduct, so I have to keep Grover in mind. And then I don't know Percy. I don't know what his snack range is. He might be like a salty, spicy type of dude. He might be a
Right.
Takis guy, and I'm not a Takis person. I'm a honey bun girl. So, but I only have a set amount of budget for these three people and all this. And then there might also be like her wanting to like impress them, still like wanting, because in the back of all of our heads we still want people to like us. And so like I have to nail this choice. This is one of the few non-combat choices I make, and like you gave me, and then I have a budget and I don't know how expensive stuff is, and there's so much. And you and me were talking about this, right? And like it was one of the most neurodivergent conversations because we were talking about that in decision paralysis. And I said, well, I don't have that problem because I have a system. I do. I have a system for the snacks so that I don't have that decision paralysis for the 10 minutes that we are at a pit stop. Because like you get like some pretzels or some popcorn. That's your soft, chewy little bit of savory. You get yourself a something crunchy and sweet, so like a candy bar of some sort, like a Hershey's with almond or a Crunch bar, and then you get a honey bun or a cookie, and that's your soft and chewy and sweet. You throw in a couple of extra, you get yourself some chips, like some Fugels or and all that. You get you throw in a couple of like your favorites that you know you want in there, and that is your snacks. And then like something like light but sweet, so like maybe like a dark chocolate something, or like I don't know, an actual fruit.
Juggler.
And that is your system for finding out what snacks you want and covering the full spectrum within a small budget of like maybe $10 for a road trip until you get actual food.
I'm sorry, Juggler. Most of the road trips that you have been on have been with me, and I have never, and I guess it's because I'm so wrapped in the vibes.
Mm-hmm.
What do I want to eat? What are we
Mm-hmm.
vibing on? I
Like
have never
granola
noticed this
bars.
technique.
Talk the crap you want about granola bars, but the granola bars cover so much of the spectrum that you need for like snack foods. Of like it can be crunchy, it can be soft, it has the textures to it, it can be sweet, it can be salty. Some have pretzels in it, so you get that extra crunch, extra salt, extra savory.
Not a vibe.
Yes, I can't afford to have vibes.
Well, thank God I can't. Good Lord. That's a lot of thinking.
It's not thinking because it's a system. Past Jessica did all the thinking. It's solved. I just go by my little mental checklist. And I had that, and I hear myself doing it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm not beating those claims.
32 years old, huh?
32,
Woo!
33 years old, and only got thought about that this could have like an actual name and diagnosis to this 2 years ago.
Nice. We love it. We're gonna put a pause. Pause for the cause.
Future GJ here. This has been the first half of our look into Percy Jackson and the Olympians TV show and books. The second half will be coming soon, either in August or September, but in the meantime, feel free to look through our YouTube channel to look at our past videos. Also, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and if you haven't already, be sure to support us on Patreon. I'm about to post a essay about adaptational attractiveness, disability, and Hephaestus. That's going to be exclusively on Patreon, so if you would like that, as well as sneak peeks into our writing process and future episodes, feel free to stop by there. Thanks for listening. Bye!